So, hello, welcome back to this episode of the Self Development with Tactics. And I have to close my closet. Podcast. Really fucking happy to be here now. Unfortunately, with the book that I'm not that pumped about. Unfortunately, because, I think the mainly reason for this is because I do not quite understand anything. But the thing is, I was just, quite before I was pondering around whether I should actually go around or go ahead with this one, even though I don't like it that much, or if I should actually just choose something else because I kind of did it wrong with the uploads yesterday, and so therefore it is actually some kind of way in what I'm going to record. So I could either do this what I'm doing right now, or I could actually just record something new and something else. I had a quick look at some books that I just had a look at some books just before to see what I'm going to do next. There were quite some, so actually two, Meditation by Marcus Aurelius and 0 to 1, which are both, I think, great books and seem to be great books, and also the author of the website thinks that these are both great books. Especially Marcus Aurelius' Meditation really just reminded me on Alexander the Great, which was definitely a good book, and I would really invite you and suggest you to read it as well. It's a fairly short book, as I remember correctly, but it's pretty interesting. No, Gladiator. I'm sorry. I have read Alexander the Great as well, I think. I do not know if I just completed it or not, unfortunately, but Gladiator as a book is just really great, even though it's, more fiction than non-fiction, which is something I do quite, not like that much, because I quite think like, okay, if I read something, I do just read or want to read something that I can learn something from, even though people like Bill Gates say that he, for example, just, pretty much learns more from non-fiction than from actual fiction. But Gladiator is such, so if you're interested in such stories, you can't just tell by the name, then I would really suggest you to go through it, because it's really fucking great. We stopped with the frames. Frames are actually a way to kind of manipulate choices or manipulate your thinking. The less frame was basically just giving yourself less options, so to make the decision making much easier and much straightforward and maybe even better. The experience frame. Several researchers have shown that people derive, whatever derive means. Can I do this? What the fuck? It just really stopped now. I hope this was okay. I think everything should be okay. Where did I stop? Derive. Much greater satisfaction from purchasing experiences than they do from purchasing goods. Even people pondering their future purchases, they accept that experiences will leave them more satisfied than physical goods. Framing a sale in Oops, fuck. No, please don't. It's not working anymore. Fuck. Because I turned the fucking microphone so that it would actually pick my voice up a little bit better. But I fucked up the whole concept. It was working just fine before. What the fuck? Now it is working just how I like it. Yeah. Experiences. This is actually a point that I've been talking about in the last episode as well. So if you're interested in, I think, marketing and just making sales and how to influence people and I do not want to say manipulate, because that's generally speaking so negative. But yeah, in some kind of way you manipulate yourself even and other people, then I would really suggest you to go to the episode before, which is actually the podcast episode or YouTube episode, where depends on what platform you are right now. That was just before this one. So go check it out and then come again to this one. The last one was only about 30 minutes, so it's not quite that long, and there's quite a few things in it. So it's, I think, definitely just good to go through it, even for a bit. But yeah, framing a sale in experiential terms is more likely to lead to satisfied customers and repeat business. The label frame. In the Wall Street game, 33% of participants cooperated and went free, but in the community game, 66% reached a mutually beneficial result. The neatest group by far was the first, the one that had been labeled neat. Merely, what does neat mean? Yeah, nice. Oh yeah. Okay. Merely assigning the positive label, helping the students from themselves in comparison with others elevated their behavior. And I think this just really quite underlines and points out again that how you think about yourself is definitely, a pretty tremendous change you can make to your, behavior and, how your overall well-being is, some kinda. Because if you just, tell yourself all the time that you're fucking shit and you can't do anything, what should you do? Or how should you do it? Or how should you behave if you just tell yourself all the fucking time? It just, I think it's enough when other people say to you. You do not have to do it for yourself. This is just unnecessary. And you can just, be like, okay, I'm really bad at a lot of things. I forget every fucking shit. This is one of the things that I can't do. I can't spell. My grammar as well. So my grammar not as such, but my spelling is tremendously shit. My speaking in English is also not that good. So there are always some things that you could be doing better. But rather than focusing on the things you cannot do or you aren't good at, you should rather focus on the things that you're actually good at and be the best at it. The blemished frame. Remarkably, in many cases, the people who would gotten that small dose of negative information were more likely to purchase the boots than those who'd received the exclusively positive information. The researchers dubbed this phenomenon the blemish effect, where adding a minor negative detail in an otherwise positive description of a target can give the description a more positive impact. But the blemishing effect seems to operate only under two circumstances. First, the people processing the information must be in what the researchers call a low effort state. That is, instead of focusing resultantly on a decision, they are proceeding with a little less effort, perhaps because they are busy or distracted. Second, the negative information must follow the positive information and not the reverse. Once again, the comparison creates clarity. The core logic is that when individuals encounter weak negative information after already having received positive information, the weak and or negative information ironically highlights or increases the salience of the positive information, which as such is definitely something that sounds so incredibly shit and just like, crazy, some kinda. But, as I've been thinking about it, it's more like a contrast. And, it does make sense, by saying, okay, I have a product and my product is just really good at doing this one. And by saying, okay, but it's not that good at this thing, then you just highlight, okay, this is the thing that it's good at. And if this is really the thing that, your target audience is just looking at, then, why would they care about the thing that, your product isn't good at, If it's not like, they don't care about it. So if you're making your case to someone who is not intently weighing every single word, list all the positives, but do add a mild negative. Being honest about the existence of a small blemish can enhance your offering's true beauty. I think because it's just only the truth and we're kind of just used to getting all the good informations and only positive stuff and all brands are so good and all companies are so well and whatever, then it's just, something different and such a contrast if there is something negative in an own advertising or an own product or description or whatever. The potential frame. Participants on average gave the veteran player with solid numbers a salary of over $4 million for his sixth year. But they said that for the rookie's sixth season, they would expect to pay him more than $5 million. People often find potential more interesting than accomplishment because it's more uncertain, the researchers argue. Next time you're selling yourself, don't fixate only what you achieved yesterday. Also emphasize the promise of what you could accomplish tomorrow. And I think definitely just kind of point out what you're going to accomplish for your customers. This is definitely something that will work at my point of view, because you're just speaking in terms of the customer's interest, you know. Why wouldn't they be like, okay, yeah, he's concerned about me making more money. He's concerned about me having a great company and just building my company. And it's not particularly about him. That's important. And this is something I do quite often, emphasize of ramps. Once you have found the problem and the proper frame, you have one more step. You need to give people an off-ramp. Among the students in the last or least likely group who received the less detailed letter, a whopping 0% contributed to the food drive. But their counterparts who were more disposed to giving, but who would receive the same letter, didn't exactly wow researchers with the evolves. What the fuck? So I just have to look this up. Benevolence it's Benevolence, which means in German nothing. Thank you. Only 8% of them made a food donation. However, the letter that gave students details on how to act had a huge effect. Sorry for me just not being able to fucking read. And then we just before talked about thinking negatively and speaking negatively towards you. Okay, that's good. 25% of students deemed least likely to contribute actually made a contribution when they received a letter with a concrete appeal, a map, and a location for donating. A specific request accompanied by a clear way to get it done ended up with the least likely group donating food at 3 times the rate of the most likely who hadn't been given a clear path of action. Clarity on how to think without clarity on how to act can leave people unmoved. I have to repeat this again. Clarity on how to think without clarity on how to act can leave people unmoved. Okay, this makes sense because we're all lazy motherfuckers. You know, just the truth. If you do not give a right kind of plan to people, people won't act, you know. If you just tell them, yeah, this is a great opportunity you can have, but you don't actually show them how to. Motivational interviewing. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 meaning not the least bit ready and 10 meaning totally ready, how ready are you to study? The second one is, why didn't you pick a lower number? Yeah. This is actually something that I've heard before. I hope they just explain it a little bit because I do not know anymore what it actually meant, because this was actually a pretty great question and I thought like, okay, yeah, this is something you totally can ask people. In the old days, our challenge was assessing information. These days, our challenge is curating it. And what does fucking curating mean? Yeah, the same fucking shit in German as well. Thank you. The 3-step process for creating Cantor. What the fuck is Cantor now? Thank you. The same shit again. The first one is seek. Once you have defined the area in which you would like to curate, put together a list of the best sources of information. Then set aside time to scan those sources regularly, at least 15 minutes 2 times a day. As you scan, gather the most interesting items. Sense, creating meaning out of the material you've assembled, make an annotated list of web links or regularly maintain a blog. Tend to this list of resources every day. Okay, and the third and last one is share. You can do this through a regular email or your own newsletter, or by using Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn. As you share, you will help others see their own situations in a new light and possibly reveal hidden problems that you can solve. Yeah, I think this is really the way you should go, you know, by actually just creating something yourself and just making something that you just know that will give you a lot of value in return, you know, at the end, or just, you know, in the way. And besides the whole, you know, talking about you also create a lot of value for other people in your progress, which is definitely something that's just good. You just help everyone. You just help yourself, you help others, and why not? I think this is the best option you can have or take. The folks at IDEO, which is, I don't know, seems to be a company, the award-winning innovation and design firm, have taken a lesson from the under 5 set in one of the methods they use to find design problems. They call the technique 5 ways, or 5 whys, sorry. As IDEO explains it, this exercise forces people to examine and express the underlying reasons for their behavior and attitudes. The purpose of a pitch isn't necessarily to move others immediately to adopt your idea. The purpose is to offer something so compelling that it begins a conversation, brings the other person in a participant, and eventually arrives at an outcome that appeals to both of you. Dan Pink's 6 successors to the elevator pitch. The one-word pitch. The ultimate pitch for an era of short attention spans beginning with a single word and doesn't go any further. Okay. This is definitely an amazing pitch, I think. I'm just really curious what this fucking word is, but I do not think like they just explain it, unfortunately. The second one is the question pitch. By making people work just a little harder, question pitches prompt people to come up with their own reasons for agreeing or not agreeing. And when people summon their own reasons for believing something, they endorse the belief more strongly and become more likely to act on it, definitely. Because this is something that I've been talking about quite often as well, but I think this is still something that just has to be underlined and this has to just put out, and this is quite one of the things I kind of stand behind, which is people just want to create things on their own. This is, also again something that I've learned through How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Actually, Carnegie, not Carnegie. I've been, pronouncing his name for the last 50 or even 90 episodes completely wrong, which is a little bit of blame, but or a little bit of pity. But yeah, people just want to create things on their own, whether it's their own idea, their own company, their own shoes, their own, clothing, their own, just pillows. We just want to create things on our own. We don't want to buy a regular shoe. We just have to, just customize it and some sorta. And the story in How to Win Friends and Influence People went the following way. There was a boss, and I just make it very, very short because I've been talking about the whole story once, and I think this is enough. The whole story is like, okay, there's a boss, and there's actually a person who is just an employee, I think, or a secretarian, or something like this. So it's definitely under the boss, and it wasn't such. I don't know. I just say it's a boss. I don't care now. It was in a meeting. The people were speaking, and suddenly the secretarian came up with an idea and said, okay, I have this particular idea, and I think this is good. And she just told everybody else, and, all the people were like, okay, yeah, this is something, okay, it's mediocre. It's not something, they were crazy about or amazed by. Then the next day or the following week or following 2 weeks, it was a little bit of time span between those 2 points. And the actual just business owner, I think, actually came up with an idea as well. And the point is that it was exactly the same fucking idea as the secretarian had. The point is that the secretarian wasn't like, yeah, this is my fucking idea. You stole it from me. You're just a piece of shit. She wasn't like this, or he wasn't like this. It doesn't have to be a she. And why? Because she just wanted to let him, have the pride and have the kind of, noble idea and this great idea and whatever, rather than just having everything, on her own and just, without destroying the whole feeling and, the whole atmosphere and the whole joy the other person had, which is definitely, I think, something that people should do as well, not just talking and thinking about their own lives and about, how they can just, make their life better, and not just sometimes even, or at least sometimes, just think about other persons or other people and just be like, okay, this would be a way I could just, help other people. This could be a way to just make his day or her day a little bit better, when I do not just say, okay, this was actually my idea, and just let him the pride and or joy. The rhyming pitch. What the fuck? Participants rated the aphorisms in the left column as far more accurate than those in the right column, even though each pair says essentially the same thing. Yet, when the researchers ask people, in your opinion, do aphorisms that rhyme describe human behavior more accurately than those that do not rhyme, the overwhelming answer was no. Rhymes boost what linguists and cognitive science call processing fluency, the ease with which our minds slice, dice, and make sense of stimuli. If you're one of the series of freelancers invited to make a presentation before a big potential client, including a rhyme can enhance the processing fluency of your listeners, allowing your message to stick in their minds when they compare you and your competitors. Yeah, I think this makes sense. Even though I do just have to admit that this article and or this summary is just written quite, not poorly, I do not want to say poorly only because I do not understand it quite well, but it's quite complicated, and I do feel like, okay, having the same book or having the actual book in front of you might actually work way better, because I kind of feel like, okay, there are just, certain sentences missing that are quite essential for me understanding it, better, or at least even the subject line pitch. The researchers discovered that participants based their decisions on two factors, utility and curiosity. People were quite likely to read emails that directly affected their work, but they were also likely to open messages when they had moderate levels of uncertainty about the contents, i.e., they were curious what the messages were about. Utility worked better when recipients had lots what the fuck? Recipients had lots of email, but curiosity, in brackets, drove attention to email under conditions of low demand. Ample research has shown that trying to add an intrinsic motive on top of extrinsic ones often backfires. I don't know. What does extrinsic mean? And what's motives? Yeah, makes sense. The fuck. I'm so sorry for just having to look up quite a lot of things, but I do feel like, and this was actually something that I was quite thinking about in the train today, I do want to and I do have to, because without me actually being doing this, I can't grow in terms of me actually being able to quite understand more and be able to maybe even talk a little bit better English. But yeah, along with the utility and curiosity is a third principle, which is specificity, which is definitely shown by, when you just write somebody an email, it is quite always a good thing to just include their name. Not like in general, dear sirs and madam, some regular shit a lot of people just do. Just really, look up their name and make the effort to really include it as well, because this will make, quite a lot of things different, because we are all just kind of keeping attention to certain words. One of them is sex and one of the other words is our name. And, this makes sense, because actually, reading your name will definitely make you more quite, curious and whatever. The subject line pitch. The Twitter pitch, the mark of an effective tweet, like the mark of any effective pitch, is that it engages recipients and encourages them to take the conversation further by responding, clicking a link, or sharing the tweet with others. The Pixar pitch. After someone hears your pitch, ask yourself, what do you want them to know? What do you want them to feel? And what do you want them to do? In those circumstances and many others, you will do better if you follow 3 essential rules of improvisational theater or theater or whatever. The first one is hear offers. The second one is say yes. And the third, make your partner look good. I think it is always a kind of good thing if you are in a job interview, if you are talking to other people, and that may be interesting for you in terms of actually making business with them, because to just speak about people in a good way. Why? Because at my point of view, they just then know that you will also talk about them in a good way after you have left, or they have left, or this person has left, or after you had done business but you're not working together anymore. They will just know that you won't be shitting around on them behind their back or some shit like this. Here offers. Once we listen in this new, more intimate way, we begin hearing things we might have missed. And if we listen this way during our efforts to move others, we quickly realize that what seems outwardly like objections are often offers in disguise. I've always wondered what discuss or disguise. It's not disgustive or something, but say yes, and instead of swirling downward into frustration, yes and spirals upward towards possibility. When you stop, you've got a set of options, not a sense of futility. Make your partner look good. Today, if you make people look bad, they can tell the world. But if you make people look good, they can also tell the world. But Grandin Hoffman reveals something equally crucial. Our findings suggest that health and safety messages should focus not on the self, but rather on a target group that is perceived as most vulnerable. Raising the salience of purpose is one of the most potent and most overlooked methods of moving others. While we often assume that human beings are motivated mainly by self-interest, a stack of research has shown that all of us also do things for what social scientists call pro-social or self-transcending. Not sending, but with a C in between S and the E. So transcending, whatever, reasons. That means not only should we ourselves be serving, but we should also be tapping others' innate desire to serve. Making it personal works better when we also make it purposeful. Merely discussing purpose in one realm, car sharing, move people to behave differently in a second realm, like recycling. Serving others, which is definitely one of the, at my point of view, most important things in life. If you have a company, or if you want to have a company, the best idea is just serving people and just creating a product or creating a service that will actually add value to people's lives. And there is then no way around the whole topic, the whole thing, that people won't buy it. If it is really creating value, if there is really a target audience that really quite needs your product or service, they will definitely buy it. There is no other way around this one. If there is, no other product, or if there is not such a good product on the market. If there is another good product, it may come up to just marketing, just how you PR yourself, or you just make your product or service better. This is, I think, the best way to just make it. But yeah, so serving others for me is definitely something that I want to do more, and I want to work on doing better, because I don't know. Just because it's a fucking good time. I would really like to ask whether what I'm doing right here is just giving you any value or any just good things, or adds anything to your life. It would be really nice if you tell me. Just write me down, or write it down in the description. Actually, not in the description, but in the comment section, and or just comment on an Instagram post or Facebook post or Twitter post, or on some other platforms, or just DM me, which is also a good thing. So serving others. And this is what it means to serve. Improving another's life, and in return, improving the world. Greenleaf on servant leadership. The best test and the most difficult to administer is this. Do those served grow as persons? Do they, while being served, become healthier, wiser, freer, more autonomous, more likely themselves to become servants? If the person you are selling to If the person you are selling to agrees to buy, will his or her life improve? When your interactions is over, will the world be a better place than when you began? Which is then not such a good sign, because it just shows you, okay, you just wasted their time maybe, you wasted your time maybe, you just, kind of wanted them to buy a product that this is not, that's not actually good for them or doesn't fit them. But yeah. Upserving means doing more for the other person than he expects you, or you initially intended, taking the extra steps that transforms a mutant interaction into a memorable experience. Anytime you attempt to upsell someone else, stop what you're doing and upserve instead. Don't try to increase what they can do for you, elevate what you can do for them. Which is, at my point of view, quite a really, really great way to just end this summary, because this is just what I stand for. I quite want to give the most value to the people I can. And this is definitely something that I just have to say, okay, this is not the thought that I've started with doing this. The whole intent was, me making a little bit more money, to be honest. Like, yeah, it's just what it is. But in the meantime, you just, come to the conclusion that actually thriving for money and money itself is nothing that makes you happy. And I only have thought it, I think, because I'm not earning any money. I'm just a student. I just get my pocket money from my parents, which is not the best thing. You kind of, give them some leverage over your life and your decisions and whatever. But yeah, I just want to serve you now. I just really came to the conclusion, okay, money won't make me happy. Definitely not. To some degree, yeah, maybe because it gives me the opportunity and ability to do things that I wouldn't be able to do if I didn't have any money. Like, yeah, eating, but, also some luxurious thing that's, that I might like or not, because, yeah, it's not the person that I'm right now. And therefore I'm thinking like, okay, why should it be the case when I do have some money? But yeah, at the end, I do think that helping others and just, being remembered as a person that is, incredibly, that, moved something in the world or on the world, is just more worth than having a lot of money, I think. If just, everybody remembers you, or just, some other people, not only your family or your friends remember you as a person who was just great and who was just, giving value to the world and or to the people. This is, something to live for, I think. And this is just the legacy I want to have. The legacy of just being remembered as someone who was just, very, very nice, very kind, and just, made something that's the world profited of or from. Other books by Dan Pink are Drive, The Surprising Truth About What Motivates Us by Daniel H. Pink, which is actually a book that I've been discussing on this channel as well, and or podcast, wherever you are listening to me right now. Then are here the recommended readings, or the recommended reading. If you like to sell is Human, you may also enjoy the following books: Getting Things Done, The Art of Stress-Free Productivity by David Allen, Predictably Irrational, The Hidden Forces That Shape Our Decisions by Dan Ariely, and Work the System, The Simple Mechanics of Making More and Working Less by Sam Charpenter, which is, definitely a catchy title, but it kind of just, lets me feel like, okay, yeah, why would you want to do this? If you're just really for real now, really willing to work less and just, make more money by doing less, you're definitely in the wrong job. You're definitely doing the wrong work. You definitely should do something else, because this is, or seems for me now, not something that you're passionate about, and not something that you actually love. And yeah, I definitely feel like, yeah, okay, if I'm doing something 8 hours a fucking day or even more that I actually don't like and that I actually not, quite passionate about, why why? Would I just want to work more? This makes sense for me, and it also makes sense because I'm not just emphasizing it enough. I think that, yeah, I understand that people really have to work on things even though they don't want to because they need the money. If it's a single mother, if it's just people who aren't living in a great place or not having the greatest life, whatever. This makes sense to me, and a lot of people just have to have. But yeah, but rather than just watching TV after your fucked up work, working on something that you're actually passionate about and that you actually like, and you think there's a future in, or you just want to monetize, yeah, just do this. I'm doing it as well. I think I'm I'm the best example, not to be like kind of like arrogant. No, but I just I do have 40 hours of school every week, and I still just upload every single day an episode, and even just on the weekends 2 a day, which is definitely work, and it is definitely making me fun. Even though it's definitely making fun, it's definitely fun for me. It's not making fun. Even though on days like this, and in days like the few days, so the last few days, it was actually quite hard, to be honest. And to have a little bit of a real talk right here, it's getting pretty tough at the moment because I quite feel like the drive went a little bit away, even though I do had such a time before, and it went away. So everything was okay afterwards, and it had something to do with me actually not sleeping and having some troubles in life as well, which is but definitely something that's even though not everything is running the right way just right now, doesn't mean that it is the case every time, and in the next 10 years that doesn't have to be the case. I truly know that I will just get to some kind of success with what I'm doing right now, and therefore just pushing through the hard times and pushing through the crap and pushing through the times where I'm not quite like that's not quite like too much fun for me, especially when I can't talk like today, which pisses me off just quite a lot because I quite feel like, okay, this is what I've chosen. I've chosen to speak in another language, a language that I'm actually more passionate about than my mother tongue, actually, some sort of, because I quite feel like, okay, this is in this language that I'm just using right now, I can communicate to all the people I want to. Quite, not actually, but quite, and which is definitely a good perk to have and a good thing to be able to do, which is, definitely also one of the reasons why I do just wanted to do it, because I quite want to get better and better and better and better, even though I also think that it might also come up to me actually having to talk in English in my leisure time and outside of doing these sessions and or videos and or podcast episodes. But yeah, push through the hard times if you really know that this is something you want to do, and this is something you can get some of return afterwards after you've pushed through. And yeah, I wish you a wonderful day. I think this is just the end of the episode, even though it's just not that satisfying for me. I quite feel like, okay, there was a little more in it, and in terms of me speaking, it also pisses me on a little bit, definitely. To be quite honest, I just do not want to tell you, yeah, everything is okay all the time. That's total bullshit, and I've lately read this one that a lot of people just are like, okay, people online just talk about the good things, and yeah, whatever. The thing is, it's not always good. It's just a point. But the thing is, it depends on, or it just comes up to how you react to bad things or things that didn't went too well, because at the end it just shows you some things you can learn something from, and it just shows you, okay, maybe this is not something you're good at right now, and it doesn't actually mean that you aren't good at this certain thing your whole life long. And yeah, tomorrow will be greater, hopefully, and if not, it's the next day, and if not, then it's the next day, whatever. You just have to put yourself in the right mindset. And yeah, with that being said, to really finish this up, I hope you have a wonderful day and or night, and I wish you success, health, wealth, happiness, especially happiness, because happiness is key. I hope you're giving back something, if it's a donation, smiling at another one, or just complimenting someone's style or someone's way of speaking. There's just a lot of ways you can compliment someone. And yeah, I hope you have a great legacy. I hope you get remembered as a great person if you want to as well. And I love you, and I see you.